Hello everyone. Today we're going to make this card. I've made one similar to this, I think it might have been a year ago or so, and I was actually told by one of my subscribers that they couldn't see what I was doing. I was off camera a lot of the time, so they didn't get to see how I did it. So I figured that I would remake it with different colors. And I did an Easter theme because we're coming up on Easter, and this is what it looks like on the inside, and I'll show you how to do that. I don't know how well you can tell, but that's textured too. It's a raised surface, and this is on vellum. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and you can write on this vellum. So you can either, if you choose to, you can wait before you adhere this and write on the inside of the Whisper White. Or you can go ahead and adhere the vellum down and write on the vellum itself. So it's up to you, but that's what it looks like on the inside. That's what it looks like on the outside. So let's get started. Okay, so these are the materials that we're going to use. I'm actually using this as a guide to keep myself in check because I tend to be off center and out of frame, so I'm not going to go wrong. I'm not going to steer you guys wrong this time. I'm going to actually keep myself in check today. Alright, so what we're going to use are these bits and pieces. We're going to use a piece of Calypso coral, and it is cut at 4 by 8, and it's scored at 2 inches from each side. So when you score it, go 2 inches from this side and 2 inches from this side. And the next piece is a piece of Wisteria Wonder, and it is cut at 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. We're also going to use a piece of Whisper White cut at 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. Alright, another piece of Whisper White, and this is just a scrap piece because you're just going to need to be able to cut it, punch it out using the circle, the 1 3/8 circle punch. So you're going to stamp an image down on that and punch it out. And I've already punched this piece out using the 1 3/4 scallop circle punch. This is a piece of the Wisteria Wonder. I have punched this piece of Calypso coral out using a 1 1/2 inch circle punch. And you're going to need a piece of vellum, and this is cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. This is just one of the flower brads from the Brights collection that I'm using. You can use any brad you want. I just like this one and how it looks with the piece. And I actually don't have a size for this, a cut size, so because I just wrap it around my piece and tie it into a bow and then I cut it. So this is the ribbon scallop dots, and it's in Old Olive, and I'll be using this. And okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're using the Adorning Accents die. I'm going to die cut both edges of the Calypso coral, and it will look like this. Okay, and the next step is to emboss the edge with the Adorning Accents Edgelets embossing folder, and you're going to do both edges with that folder, and it'll look like this when you're done with that. Okay, so this is the embossing folder I used for that, and this is the one that we're going to use next. It's got the little hearts on it. Then what you're going to do is emboss the edge, and you're going to take it right to the, you're going to take the bottom part of the hearts right to the score line that you made at the 2 inches. And it will look like this. Very pretty. And you're going to do that on both sides. So you'll do it on this side. Okay, here we go. Both sides are done. Okay, so my next step is using the scallop edge border punch. I am going to scallop these two ends. And I'm just going to start them, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. And that's what that looks like when you're done with those. Okay, and my next step is using the Bordering on Romance stamp set. I'm going to use this stamp right here. Using the Wisteria Wonder Stampin' Write marker and the Calypso Coral. I am just going to color in this stamp. I'm going to color in each flower individually. So I'm going to use the Wisteria Wonder on this flower and that little heart. And then on the inside I'm going to do Calypso Coral. So it'll be outside Wisteria Wonder, inside Calypso Coral. This is Calypso Coral, outside Calypso Coral, inside Wisteria Wonder, and so on and so on and so on and so on. I'm coloring it in with the Wisteria Wonder. And so I'm going to use the Wisteria Wonder all the way through. So I'm going to color this middle part of the flower with the Wisteria Wonder. Alright, so I'm going to use my Wisteria Wonder all the way through, and then I'm going to use my Calypso Coral. Okay, so now all my Wisteria Wonder is colored in. Now I'm going to use my Calypso Coral and color in the other centers, the centers of the Wisteria Wonder flowers, these little heart-shaped flowers, and then the rest of the buds. Okay, so next we're going to use a few stamps from the Everybunny stamp set. We're going to use this one, and this one. And I'm going to use some black Stays-On ink to stamp them down. Just ink them up really well. Okay. And just press it down real well, make sure that it transfers nicely. So that was this stamp. I'll use this one next. Love it, so cute. And finally this stamp. Okay. Now Stays-On usually dries pretty quickly, but just in case it didn't dry so quickly, you don't want it to transfer when you do the I'm just going to call it a puffing technique because I don't know what else to call it. You also want to make sure that your Stampin' Write marker is dry as well. So just heat it up a little bit. And if it starts to bend at all, the paper might actually start to get a little bit of a bend, you can just go ahead and take it and dry it from the back. Okay, so for this next step, you're going to want to use a stylus that's got like a little ball point at the tip. This one is paper piercing tool, so I got it from Michael's, but you're going to want to use this little ball point part right now. Alright, and this is the front of your piece. You're going to want to flip it over to the back for this. Okay, so then what you're going to do is really gently, you don't have to go very hard at all, just start rubbing the outline of the, inside the lines of the stamp. And you'll see that it starts to whiten up a little bit. And in the back of it, well, in the front, it's actually going to be puffed out. So you will be able to feel a raised surface. So when you run your finger over it, you'll be able to feel that it's raised. And I don't know how well you can see that. Not real well at all. But that is what it's going to do. You don't have to put too much pressure. I mean, you don't want to put too much pressure that it'll break the paper, that it'll actually poke a hole in the paper. you'll know what the right pressure is when you start doing it. And you're going to do that to all three of these stamps, the stamped images. And I didn't say, but you'll want to actually use, this is my foam mat from my matte pack, Stampin' Up! Matte pack. You'll want to use that. You can't do it on paper, on like a flat surface. You're going to want to have some kind of foam surface behind it. And that's what this looks like. How cute is that? You see the difference? It's a little more white here, and then you've got, these are the unraised ones, the unpuffed ones, so that's what it looks like. Okay, so this is what this looks like. Now I'm going to color these images in. Again, I'm going to flip it to the back, and I'm going to be using Pacific Point, Peach Parfait, Calypso Coral, which I think is my favorite color, Lucky Limeade, and Wisteria Wonder, probably my second favorite color. Alright, so real quick, I'm going to use the Pacific Point on the little eyeball for the chicken. So that's the only part that I'm using the Pacific Point for. So with the Peach Parfait, I'm going to color in the beak and the legs. And remember, you're coloring in the back of the image, you're not coloring in the front. The Calypso Coral, I'm going to color in the dots in the egg. I'm going to color in the lines of this egg. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm using the fine point tip of the Stampin' Right marker. I'm going to color in this line, and before I do that, I'm going to use the Wisteria Wonder to color in the dots in this stamp, in the little band around the pot. Alright, and then I'm going to go back to the Calypso Coral, only because I think it's easier to stay out of the dots if you can see them really well after you put the Wisteria Wonder in there. And I'm going to do the lines with the Calypso Coral and the mushroom. And I'm going to do pretty much most of the dots with the Wisteria Wonder. And finally, I'm going to use the Lucky Limeade for the grass and the stem and the leaves. Alright, so then when you're done, this is what it looks like on the inside, or the back side, and this is what it looks like, all nice and subtle and soft on the front. Okay, my next step is to sponge the edges with Calypso Coral and the Wisteria Wonder. So I'm going to start with the Calypso Coral, and I'm kind of, because it's the lighter of the two colors, I'm going to go in a little deeper into the vellum with the Calypso Coral. Okay, I thought I recorded it, but apparently I didn't. So this is actually both the Calypso Coral and the Wisteria Wonder. You really can't see it very well. You notice it more, of course, when you do it on your own project, but it's real subtle and real pretty, and you know me, I always like to sponge my edges, so you pretty much know what you're going to get. And actually, I think you can see it a little bit better with the background. So there you go, you can kind of see it a little bit better. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. So you can kind of see that. Very subtle, very pretty. Okay, so the next step is to take your 3.5 by 3.5 inch Whisper White and the scallop trim corner punch, and you're going to punch out. Perfect. Okay, the next step is to take the Happy Easter Everybunny stamp from the Everybunny stamp set, and you're going to ink it up real well in the Calypso Coral, and then you're going to rock and roll it in the Wisteria Wonder and stamp it down. pretty. It's a little rock and roll. It's so pretty. And make sure that you have the Calypso coral on the right side. So the raised hearts are on the outside. You flip it over, and that's the correct side you want to put your pieces. Okay, so now this is sort of the tricky part because I try my best to hide the adhesive or whatever I use to adhere my vellum to the inside of my card. And the best way that I found, it's glue, two-way glue stick. So I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to go along the edges of the Wisteria Wonder and try to work fast because the two-way glue stick dries pretty quickly. Alright, so just go through and press it in as well as you can, and just keep doing that. Okay, using this sort of heart border stamp from the P.S. I Love You stamp set, I'm going to ink it up real well in the Calypso Coral ink, and I'm using a piece of Whisper White cardstock. And then I'm going to use this Blossom stamp from the Bordering on Romance stamp set. And I used the rock and roll technique of Calypso Coral and Wisteria Wonder in my sample that you saw, but I just want to give this a shot and see how it comes out. Make sure you ink it up real well, because frankly, this is like take 5 of this. It's just not working out so well for me today. Alright, and stamp it down. Okay, that came out. Alright, so I'm going to use the Wisteria Wonder Stampin' Write marker to color in the blossom. And I'm using my Pear Pizzazz marker for the leaves. And I'm going to take my 1 3/8 circle punch, and I'm going to punch it out. Then you're going to take that and adhere it to some Calypso Coral. Okay, it always takes me a little bit of time to tie my ribbons, so I went ahead and just did that while I was uploading all of the rest of these videos to my computer because I actually ran out of space. So this is what it looks like. You have to kind of work with it a little bit because this ribbon is only dotted on the one side. So I just always fuss with it a little bit and get it so that it's straight. Alright, so I punched the hole. You saw me do that in this using the regular hole punch. Now I'm going to use my Crocodile, and I'm going to use the smaller hole. So here's what the bigger hole looks like. I don't know if you can see that. And here's the smaller hole. So you can tell it's pretty noticeably different. Alright, and I'm just going to punch a hole in the ribbon using my Crocodile. The reason why you want to use the Crocodile to do this is because it's actually a little tougher to punch through and hold a hole in the ribbon with a regular hole punch. Okay, and then just put the brad on through the hole, and there you go. Gorgeous, I love it. I hope everybody loves it as much as I do. I hope you all loved it as much as I do. It was fun, and until next time, happy stamping!